Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Variant Cast. We're back in whatever the planet is for Dune. I don't know.
Arrakis.
The world building right over my head. As we're going to be talking some Dune Part 2, as well as the Avatar: The Last Airbender that was released on Netflix in a nice little 8-episode sprint to the finish as we got through that. So. Just starting off, probably getting into some Dune. Trent,
Yeah.
how was your Dune experience?
We've been Duned. Well, my Dune experience was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Went to the first showing at my local theater. Tried to I want to start off by saying rest in peace to the Nicole Kidman AMC ad. They've officially retired the Nicole Kidman AMC ad and are replacing it with 3 variants. So very, very sad to see. So I wanted to go to the first showing, try to catch it before it was gone, but unfortunately it was too late. It was out of theaters before I had a chance to go see it one final time. So rest in peace.
For the people like myself that don't live near an AMC, is that the references ad?
Yeah, it's like she's sitting there, she's watching movies, and she's like we come to this place to laugh, to cry, and then like at the end it's like at the end heartbreak feels good in a place like this. But sad to see it go, but
love to see it leave.
Yeah. I didn't want to say it, but couldn't have said it better myself. But no, it was a good experience. My theater was pretty full for a 3:00 showing, and a lot of people in their 50s. It seemed like a lot of maybe old Dune heads come to see it first showing. Love to see that. There seemed to be like a group of like dudes in like their 50s. There was like maybe 5 or 6 of them just all going out to see midday viewing of Dune. So love to see that community. But no, the movie itself, great. I loved like the spectacle of it. I definitely thought that it was better than the first Dune. I thought that it builds a lot on the stuff in the first Dune, and I really enjoyed it. How about you, Ty?
So, I mean, my theater experience, I didn't count how many 50-year-olds there were. However, it was a pretty full theater. I was curious, was there much because this, it feels like a blockbuster in terms of obviously the turnout, the spectacle of it all, but it's not like the same as other blockbusters in the sense that at least my theater was a later night, maybe some low energy on a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
But it was quiet. Like there's not many jokes, so there's not.
Yeah,
really
no, there was a
many
few
laughs
parts.
and-
There was a few parts where I feel like people laughed, but for the most part, it was like pretty tame in the audience. I just mean spectacle in terms of like, I guess what was on the screen. I guess if you would have saw it maybe in like IMAX, in like an IMAX theater, you probably would have had like more of like a, I don't know, like an audible reaction to some parts. Like I don't know.
I mean, to be clear, that's not a bad thing by any means. We joke a lot about just the applause for like the MCU. Like they take literal applause breaks, which is very, very jarring at times. So it's just interesting going into a movie like this in that packed of a theater, because I generally don't go into packed theaters unless it is like a blockbuster. And while this one is a blockbuster, it's not the same vibe, and that's not a bad thing. It's very much I think I enjoyed it more than the first one, but mainly because they streamlined it a bit more. Like this one's much more of a just straight action blockbuster in that sense, and it isn't trying to hit you over the head with a bunch of just like random space politics this time.
Yeah.
And it's more kind of just let's get into it. This is Dune. We're Duning it up, and by the end of this, hopefully you're all duned out, or you're not duned out enough, and you're back for the third one, which feels like we are headed that way.
Yeah. No, it was definitely. It definitely took you and was like, all right, all the groups of people, all the locations. Here you go. Here's a story, and right away, like it felt like it was giving me like Lord of the Rings sequel vibes in terms of like just like we're on this grand journey to this one destination, and like it seems like everything is culminating to one giant moment, which eventually it does in this movie, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, I think that's a great shout. Like there is so many comparisons of this franchise in Star Wars, because obviously the origins of Star Wars and how old this piece of media is.
Mm-hmm.
But really the better comparison, like you'll hear from a lot of people, is the Lord of the Rings franchise and that string of movies. And I think once these are all out, this is going to have kind of the same cultural like relevance in that sense. It's like, okay, this is an epic that you have to set aside 15 to 20 hours to get through the whole series.
Yeah.
But when you do, you're going to feel like you went on this long, hopefully fulfilling by the end adventure.
Yeah. And even like after this one, I feel like inclined to go back and watch the first one to kind of like, get the whole story and like understand it a little bit better since I hadn't read the book. And I feel like now that we have like the full perspective of what the full story was in the book, I think that it works a lot. Like the first one works a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, if you figure that out, let me know. Because I do find myself a lot of times, because of the way the movie looks, not paying attention to what is going on and just staring at the movie.
Yeah.
In like a good way, where I'm just like looking at things and I'm like, wow, that's cool. That looks cool. I wonder how much that costs to make, kind of thing. And then next thing I know, that there's another fight happening, and I'm not really sure how the fight started.
Yeah.
But that's more on me and my observations than it is the movie.
Yeah.
But really, just to give that a shout, like the first one as well, but just the wardrobe in this movie is awesome. The effects in this movie are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The fake weapons in this movie look so good. And really, I think that's just a testament to how much care has been put into this franchise, because there isn't other forms of media to go off of when adapting these things from the book. Obviously, I know Dune has been around a long time. They have done like, pictures, concept art.
Yeah.
But this really is in its own territory, and I think they've done a really good job in fleshing out that side of things. So even if I don't necessarily think the exposition makes a ton of sense,
Mm-hmm.
and they kind of, I think of the second one, they kind of chilled on the exposition as opposed to the first one.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of goes back to what you're saying about the first one being more coherent now after watching the second. I think it really does show how much care has been put in, and really I have no complaints about really anything. It's hard to have like a strong like this is terrible about anything in this movie.
The director Denis Villeneuve, he came out and he was like this week, and he's like I don't care about dialogue in movies. He's like he's like, if I could take out all of the dialogue in all of my movies, like I don't remember movies for what the people say. I remember the movies for how it looks on the screen and the pictures that are put up on the screen. And I thought that was really funny.
I think he's just what if Zack Snyder was based? That would be
and a good
Denis
director.
Villeneuve.
Yeah,
and a good director. What if Zack Snyder is what Snyder Bros thought he was? That's what these movies are. And when you're talking about someone with the stylistic flair, that's this right here.
And speaking of things that he did better than Zack Snyder, those black and white scenes, pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it's there. What I'm not a huge fan of like black and white scenes, just as a gimmick, because I think a lot of times they're used to like try to convey an emotion that like really isn't there, and you're just like adding a black and white filter to it. But in these, like they were, especially
the
like
lighting
the
of the
fights
planet
and stuff.
like that was how those people were seeing like that, which I thought was like super interesting. Which doesn't really make any sense, but like who cares?
You know, who cares? Yeah. The moon spirit got killed. What are we supposed to do?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, they're like Dune,
Get to that
Dune and Avatar basically the same. Like, let's be honest.
Basically the same thing. Did you want to go over some spoilers? I'm not super good at remembering the names of anything, so you'll need to take point on that.
Yeah, we could go over some spoilers. So the movie starts off with Paul in the desert tribe, the Fremen, and they're kind of, you know, not really believing Paul is the Messiah that's gonna come and save them all. So they're all kind of skeptical. So they're putting him through some tests, and while they're doing that, they kind of get suspicious of his mom or whatever for being like a plant or like a spy. So they're sussed out about her. So they have her drink this this water of life, which is, I guess, extracted from a baby sandworm, baby sandworm, and it's supposed to kill them, but it doesn't kill Lady Jessica. And then after she drinks it, she's like, Paul, you got to try this stuff. This shit hits. No, actually, but she was like, this is the only way that these people are gonna that you'll be gonna, you know, take the next step of whoever you're gonna be. But before that, you know, we get a little bit of shots of Paul riding some sandworms, possibly the biggest sandworm they've ever seen. So you know, pretty sick, pretty cool shot of him. I also like the shots of them all riding on top of the sandworms, and they're all kind of like, you know, they gotta have the little cages with the cloth to protect the people who can't actually, you know, hold on to it, which I thought was interesting concept.
More just like on the effects with those sandworms, like the actual sand, the way it like reacted to the sandworm. I just remember thinking back to like Spider-Man 3 and the Saiyan CGI being so groundbreaking back then, and look where we are now. We got sandworms doing all the movement, and it looks absolutely amazing.
The sandworms from like every angle, like you're right up on top, like they're running away from them. There's 3 worms on top of it. There's 3 worms like all like coming towards the spice extractor thing. Like those are all super cool shots. But so as the story goes on, they the Fremen are kind of like looking for, I guess, like the Harkonnens or whatever they're called. I think they're called the Harkonnens, to kind of try to wipe out the rest of the people, to just keep Arrakis safe, and, you know, keep the worms happy. But they eventually run into Josh Brolin, who I think added a lot of needed story that needed, like, right in the middle. I thought that him joining like the Fremen and kind of I don't know, offering like a different perspective, but kind of also challenging like the beliefs of the Fremen and making Zendaya kind of question him. I thought that was a good plot as well.
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of different like underlying themes, and I think this movie has less storylines and more just underlying themes.
Yeah.
Generally throughout the whole thing, and I think it works for this. It's tough for me as a dialogue lover to to have like this 2 hour and 45 minute movie that is just a spectacle. And I'm sure every review that you hear about this movie is gonna have some play on spectacle, epic, just whatever it is, because that's what it is. And maybe this is where like blockbusters need to be in terms of like just a visual element of it. Like you need to have something to get butts and seats, and that's what does it.
Yeah.
So like I think it's a different type of blockbuster than we've gotten the last 20 years. Obviously Dune, the first Dune, but Dune 1 and 2 as a franchise really does have its own distinct feel. So whether it's closer to like my type of thing or not, it is absolutely something that I think they nailed going forward on that.
Yeah, no, definitely. So now we're getting towards the end of the end of the movie. We'll just talk about I guess like the final climax of the movie. So Paul drinks the water of life, and then like Timothy Chalamet's acting like totally switches, I feel like, and he becomes like almost like an entirely different Paul than what we've been seeing in the last two movies. And then he goes and walks in front of the Freeman and kind of says like, "No, I am your leader, and you all are gonna fucking listen to me." And then he walks up there, gets all of them on his side, and then Christopher Walken, or I guess he walks into the Harkonnen's place, kills the Harkonnen leader, the big slimy dude, and then he challenges Christopher Walken to marry his daughter, or he offers to marry his daughter and him become the emperor. And then he challenges him to a fight, and then he ends up fighting Austin Butler, who just seems to can't get rid of that Elvis accent. There's at least like 30% of Elvis accent in that character.
He's stuck with it forever, man.
Yeah, but no, we have a really cool fight scene at the end, and Paul ends up winning, and then he ends up going off to the planet to where the Emperor's from to supposedly start reigning over the universe. And Zendaya doesn't agree with him, so she stays back. She's gonna be the leader of the, supposedly, I guess, like the leader of the home on Arrakis, and Paul's gonna go do some war crimes.
Do some Paul things.
Yeah.
And, like, you got to respect it. I think Timothy Chalamet really, there's about halfway through the movie where I was like, he's not very good in this, is he? And then the second half of the movie is amazing.
Yeah.
And I then thinking back to it, like, because of the way the character kind of moves throughout this, it almost feels like he was really flat like as a directorial choice early on in the movie. Like that was a conscious effort to keep him kind of reserved in his own mind, so that when he does finally come out and kind of start piping up, it really does feel like, there's a reason, and there's a contrast from the first half of the series, I guess you could say.
Yeah, no, he definitely stepped it up. I like, there was that scene when he was like in the he was like masked up, and he had just killed the Harkonnen leader, and I was like, damn, that's fucking Timothy Chalamet. That's like he's really out
here. Yeah, no, he was actually like kind of had a few I'm him moments.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think those were the moments that I was most worried that he'd be able to pull off. Like if you told me that he was going to be the lead in an action franchise like this, like those I'm him moments have to be believable, or else they're just not cool.
Yeah.
And I think they got to it being believable towards the end. So yeah, I think overall, what would you rate it out of 5 there?
5 stars.
5 stars out of 5. Okay.
Yep.
It's hard for me because I'm like, I have my personal, like, will I probably watch this movie in my free time? No, I'm just not gonna. 2 hours and 45 minutes. Let me put on Dune Part 2.
Yeah.
I'm just not gonna do it. But you got to rate the movie for what it is, and like I said, there's not a bad misstep in this movie, so I could definitely get behind it being a 5 out of 5. Maybe I'll do 4.5 out of 5, just because like I wish Dave Bautista had like more prominent eyebrows, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Other than that, pretty flawless film, and I'm at the very least interested to see, how many more they do and what it's going to look like when we take a step back in 15 years when we think about the legacy of Dune, if it's what it looks like now or what life that'll take on as we go forward.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
But speaking of, lives that you might be forced to take on, an avatar lives, an avatar dies, and another avatar lives. Unless, of course, you get frozen in some ice, then there's just no avatar for 100 years, and you don't want that. Yeah. So we got to relive that reality as Netflix released their, retelling of The Last Airbender Season 1. We got it in 8-episode form, so I don't know how many episodes the original animated series is, but
20
those
episodes.
were 20 episodes.
Yeah.
Okay. 20-minute episodes. So when you actually run that math, these are 45-minute to an hour episodes. It's pretty much the same amount of time that you're getting with the live action crew as you got with the animated crew.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to think about. Were you much of a Avatar kid growing up, Trent? What was your background?
I actually watched Avatar for the first time a couple years ago.
Okay.
I had never watched it growing up. So yeah, I was just introduced to it a couple years ago. I watched the original series, really liked it. I wasn't as big of a fan of Legend of Korra, but no, I thought that the original series was really good.
Yeah, I grew up with the original series, and I was actually just thinking about it because obviously we had a couple, I guess it's been a few episodes at this point ago, we talked about Percy Jackson. I was just thinking about how the flow of those two franchises are extremely similar, peaking in popularity around 2005 to 2008, and then they both got live action movies made in the 2010s that absolutely sucked, and now they're getting streaming service adaptations that are better on rival platforms, Disney Plus and Netflix respectively. Can't speak today. Respective. That doesn't even sound right anymore. We're gonna move on. We'll workshop a new word for respectively, because that just isn't right. But I just thought that was an interesting observation, as I think we're getting more and more to shout out all my people born from 1995 to 2005. That era of kid is now getting their nostalgia kind of marketed towards. Growing up, we always were getting Ghostbusters and stuff shoved down our throat because that's what the generation before grew up with, and that's how Hollywood works. Whoever is writing the checks, whoever is opening their wallets to go to these things, they're going to appeal to them. So they're trying to appeal to us right now, and the latest attempt at that is Last Airbender. And I think they did well. I think they did a good job. Does it need to exist? Maybe not, but it exists, and that's the reality of the situation. It exists, and judging it for what it is, I think it's a pretty good, maybe even great adaptation of the first season of Avatar. What did you think, Trey?
Yeah. So going into it, my biggest fear was we're going to watch this and see why like it was animated versus like why they chose an animated medium as opposed to a live action medium, because there's just so many more things that you could do in animation, so many more things that you can like visualize in animation that you can't in live action. But I think they actually did a really good job. I was pleasantly surprised by like all the water effects and all the stuff like that. But aside from that, like the story I thought was really good. It didn't really diminish or take away from any of the like the main story points of the original series. And I think this could be watched as like a new viewer, and you could easily understand it. But I was pleasantly surprised by it, and it was a really easy binge, which isn't said for a lot of shows.
Yeah, I mean it's 8 episodes and it flows really well. I think I was hearing about the live action M. Night Shyamalan one, and how he came in with a like 7-hour movie. He was like, here's my 7-hour screenplay for this Avatar movie I want to make. And they were like, M. Night, you're an insane person. We can't do this. And here we are 14 years later, and someone made it. It's a 7-hour retelling of the first season of book 1 or chapter 1, whatever it is. And it works really well. I think you hit it on the head where it's like this can be used in place. I think that's like the test for any retelling like this. Can you watch this season and then go straight into the second season of the animated show and not be confused? And I think you absolutely can.
Yeah.
So I think that's testament to how faithful they stayed. And I don't think anything was too distracting. I think we talked about, I think it might have been on the episode that is audio only. If you guys are wondering where the episode was last week, there's an audio only option. So head over to Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, you can listen to that. But we talked about there being no misogyny in this version, and how that would actually like affect Sokka's character and everything. And I don't think it really did. Instead of being a misogynist, he's now just kind of full of himself. So
which he always was in the show, which he always was in the original show as well. But it wasn't too noticeable that they took that out. All the characters were just like perfectly cast. Like they look exactly like them. They sound exactly like the characters from the show. And like, obviously the costumes are just like fantastic. But I thought they did a really great job of getting actors that have like even the exact same face shape as like the cartoon characters. Like crazy.
I think I know who you're referring to when you talk about face shape.
It's most of them,
Zuko?
but Zuko, but like even Sokka is like his face shape, I feel like, and his voice are like, it's like spot on. And Uncle Iroh, like I was a big fan of Kim's Convenience, and that dude plays like the dad in that. And so when he was cast as Uncle Iroh, I was like, oh, that is just perfect casting. And I was right. I mean, he's fantastic.
I mean, he's probably the best actor in this.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that. There's a few people that, I don't know, the acting's hit or miss. If there's one complaint you can have about this, it's the performances sometimes leave a little bit to be desired.
Yeah.
Now, I think the guy who played Aang killed it. Like, even though he sounds corny at times, like that's just Aang like dialogue. I don't know how you deliver that in any way other than corny.
Yeah.
So that's fair. I think Zuko, he was really good. He had really high highs, and he also had some lower lows. Where like I think he worked really well playing off like the other kids. But when he was in a scene in which he's talking to adult actors and he's like needing to like be an intimidating force. I just didn't quite buy it.
Yeah.
And maybe that can be seen as intentional because they're also not buying it. But I just know he was pretty intimidating in the first like season of the animated show. I don't really see him as intimidating in this at all.
Yeah.
But I think that was maybe I was just wrong in the animated show, and he was never meant to be intimidating because he definitely is not the villain in this show.
No, yeah. Another great casting was Abed as as like the crazy old dude or the crazy inventor,
the mechanist.
Yeah, great casting.
Yeah. I like at first I saw him and I was like, oh, that guy looks like Abed, and then I was like, oh shit, that is literally him just wearing a mustache, looking like evil Abed there. Commander Zhao, I think, was probably one of the worst actors in it, and I'm looking at what else this guy has done. He was he was the Asian guy in Old. I say Asian guy because he really didn't have much of a character, and he was also in X-Men Last Stand. He was like the porcupine guy.
Oh, okay.
So for all you porcupine guy fans, he is still getting work, and I don't know when he's like killing them. Spoilers. I don't feel like I need to say spoilers because if you care about Last Airbender at all, you already know what happens.
Yeah.
There's no deviations from the original story in that sense. Everything that happens here happens in the animated show, so like we're not going to be spoiling any new territory. But like when he's killing the moon god or the moon spirit, he's just like, Zhao the Moon Slayer. He like, I don't know, he just came off very much like a D&D character.
Yeah.
Like he's a guy like on this D&D campaign and he's like hamming it up for his buddies. I don't know. Maybe that's unfair of me, but I didn't necessarily buy him. And I think the reason being he's in 6 of the 8 episodes. He's not in the first 2. He just kind of shows up and then takes over just like, you know, you'd expect. And he's kind of just the season villain that gets his comeuppance because you can't have everybody get their comeuppance, but somebody's got to get comeuppance and that's his job. So he serves his role and he's fine in that sense. So nothing terrible there. Overall, I'm definitely excited to see this continue as a series. Though I want to see this all the way through.
Yeah, me too. It'll be interesting to see how like the release dates with the next seasons of Percy Jackson line up too. Because I feel like if we get like these 2 similar drops like at the same time, like we could have. They're both going to be maybe 3 seasons, so. Could get 3, I don't know, seasons back to back.
Well, they both should be 4 seasons, right?
4 seasons, yeah.
Isn't there?
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, there's five books of Percy Jackson, but I can see them condensing.
So I don't know what I'm
thinking. Yeah, I could see them condensing things into 4 instead of 5, but I'd really like to see them do the full 5.
Yeah.
But I think it is interesting if these. Because they came out the same year and they have a similar issue. And by that, I mean they have cast these characters and most of these actors are in their late teens to early 20s. Some are just literally in their teens. And they grow up, like, because they're humans. You can't stop the humans from aging. Yeah. So obviously there's some stuff you could do, but how long is Aang gonna look like?
Yeah, Aang already looks younger. I'm looking at a picture of him right now.
Yeah, like how long is he going to, be looking like he's that age? I don't know. So you got to move fast. What happens if he grows? Like they just the guy that plays Aang, Gordon Cormier. How old is he?
He is
born in 2009, so he's 16, 14.
Yeah,
he's 14. Like what happens if he grows?
Aang's just
no
gonna
one
have
worried
to,
about this.
Aang's just gonna have to be older. But isn't there a thing where there's like a time limit, or like there's some sort of countdown clock or something, like in like the end of the series for like a solar eclipse or something like that? So like it's got to take place in a certain amount of time.
Yeah, no, for sure. But like I'm talking about the the real life implications of having a 14-year-old lead your franchise here. But I'm sure people getting paid way more than me are thinking about this, and someone has brought it up, so I'm sure it's fresh in their mind, and they got something brewing, and hopefully they don't botch it, because I think this first season was probably a huge success in terms of streaming numbers and everything, so I'm sure they don't want to fumble it.
Yeah.
But I think that is all we have for Avatar, so we're going to get into some news here, just kind of rounding up the week. There was a few things that came out. I think there was like they changed the title of something.
The title of Superman Legacy to Superman.
Right, that was it.
Yeah.
Superman. So we've been calling it Superman Legacy for the past couple years now, and big drop came down. It is just Superman now.
Yep. Apparently we've never had a movie called just Superman, or marketed as Superman. The very first one was marketed as Superman the movie, but it was actually just called Superman. But he was like, James Gunn's like, this is the first movie that's marketed as Superman.
Superman. Okay. I mean, I think it's good for them. Like, that's gonna
especially
probably put butts in seats,
since Superman Legacy seems like it's like an older, more wiser Superman almost, So yeah, I guess it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. I wonder whose decision it was, though. Was it James? I doubt it was James Gunn's decision fully. I don't think he would have cared to call it just Superman. He doesn't really come off as the type that would be like, I want it to be called Superman.
Yeah.
But it definitely is. I think something that a studio would look at and be like, "Oh, let's call it Superman. We've never done that before. Let's make a bunch of money."
Yeah.
Andrew Garfield will continue the story of his Peter Parker and Spider-Man in future films, but the chances of him getting a solo film is slim. Pretty much.
Venom 3.
We already knew.
Venom 3.
Venom.
There's a first picture of the Venom set today. Apparently, they're almost done filming, so it's happening.
That's crazy, man. When I think there's no more Venom to be had, I'm like, oh, there's no way they make another Venom, and then you tell me, oh yeah, it's already filmed. They've already filmed the next 3 Venoms, and they've all been greenlit.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be released bi-yearly for the rest of time, and I think that's just the reality of the situation because people can't get enough Venom.
Yep.
Kevin Feige. This is more just like when Sony and Kevin Feige are in a beef because there is a million press releases about it.
Yeah.
So they're in one right now. Kevin Feige and Sony have been negotiating for a middle ground that would let Spider-Man 4 feature both a street level story and a multiverse story. I don't understand that.
Yeah, those two don't go hand in hand.
It's just like, oh, Peter, you gotta stop the shocker and make it to chemistry class, and make sure to pick up the Doc Ock variants on the way home.
They're like,
I really don't understand.
So Sony's gonna be like, by grounded, you mean that you don't want him to swing? You just want him running on the ground.
We could make that happen.
Yeah.
We get Toby back. He could run on the ground next to him. We got this. So the fact that those were released together makes me think they want it to be like a maybe a buddy cop with Andrew Garfield type thing.
Yeah.
Which is like exactly what Spider-Man fans don't want with the Spider-Man 4. Like everybody and their mothers is just like, yo, could we just get a normal Spider-Man movie?
Yeah.
Just like Spider-Man. And then Sony's like, okay, but what if a multiversal Kraven the Hunter came in with Morbius?
But there's got to be a portal in it, right?
There's a portal that Vulture from the MC. Well, no, it's Vulture from the Morbius universe. It's revealed that he was never actually from the Homecoming universe. And he was just from the Morbius universe, and he was just like methed out or something.
Yeah,
and he's going to come into the MCU universe, and he's going to meet the actual Vulture from that universe. It's going to be crazy. Ray Winstone says being in an MCU film was soul destroying.
I saw this one. This is the villain from Black Widow saying this.
The villain from Black Widow?
Yep. Do you remember the end of Black Widow? There's like a Harvey Weinstein-esque villain that's like a dude who runs the Widow program, but he is like a massive creep and like he like takes advantage of women.
Well, I'll keep it real with you. I don't. I just remember the weird Taskmaster. But maybe that's why it's soul destroying, because no one knew he was in the film.
Yeah.
Wanted him to tone down his performance. He tried to quit. They were like, "Hey, nobody's gonna remember this role. Can you tone it down a little bit?"
Yeah. We can't have you stealing the show from Scarlett Johansson. Like, what? You're gonna need to tone it down a little bit.
We could barely afford to pay her as is. Like, I don't need you starting.
Yeah.
Ian McShane slams The Continental (parentheses TV show set in the same universe as John Wick) as cash grab. He and Keanu Reeves were not consulted about it.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like it was pretty bad reviews, so it doesn't surprise me.
I don't know who was asking for like an expansion in the John Wick universe. Who like I'm just so interested about the lore and that going on and what's happening like when John Wick isn't in the John Wick universe.
Yeah.
And I guess it's not that interesting and it's just a cash grab.
Yeah. I think there's another spin-off that's being planned in the John Wick universe of Halle Berry's character from the third one. And that one actually seems like it would have a little bit more promise than he's trying to do a spin-off of the hotel where John Wick gets all of his jobs.
Right. Miguel was intentionally meant to be a thirst trap in Across the Spider-Verse, which is some groundbreaking news. We have men being used as thirst traps intentionally.
Cartoons.
Now.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Let's go. W's. That's interesting. I don't know what the source is on this. It's just a headline. I'm gonna choose to believe it. And yeah. Timothy Chalamet says The Dark Knight was the film that made him want to be an actor. Despite Leonardo DiCaprio's advice of no superhero films, he'd consider starring in one if the script was great. There's rumors he might be DCU's Robin.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
He's gonna need a pretty big role to and like you said, like I feel like he's the type of person that needs a good story, and he's gonna be like, all right, I'm not gonna sign on for 10 movies because I don't know what my life's gonna be like then, you know.
Yeah, no, exactly. Maybe I could see him maybe doing like a Matt Reeves verse Nightwing, you know? but I don't see him in the DCU.
Yeah.
Like wanting, especially unless they start unless James Gunn is like, okay, if I have to start casting two people as these characters.
Yeah.
One that's cheap and one that's a big name to get butts in seats, but I don't think that's what he's wanting to do. I think they're going to cast cheap, they're going to cast unknown.
Yeah.
And that's how it's going to be. Brie Larson, when asked about returning for Captain Marvel in the MCU, said, "I don't have anything to say about that." If you guys are wondering what that means, it means I am currently in contract negotiations, and I'm not sure if I want to keep doing them.
Yeah.
That's, that's it.
And it's like, why would she want to keep making movies if people just like bombard her with hate comments every time one comes out,
And if you're Marvel, why do you want to keep paying her more and more to make these movies? Like, it's pretty well documented that the more movies you make in a franchise, the more like expensive they get. There's a reason why Robert Downey Jr. was making $500 billion per appearance as Iron Man. Obviously not that much, but there's a reason why they're going to continue making Pirates of the Caribbean films without Johnny Depp. And it's just the amount that it would cost to keep him, it just doesn't make sense anymore. And I don't think the cost that it would take to keep Brie Larson makes sense for Marvel, and I don't think it makes sense for Brie Larson at this point as like a performer. So yeah, it's tough. What else do we got? Matthew Lillard is officially set to return as Shaggy for a mystery Scooby-Doo project. This is the most non-news of non-news ever. Obviously, if we are talking to my live-action Scooby-Doo enjoyers, they're like, oh, are we going to get a new live-action Scooby-Doo? But Matthew Lillard has, since playing Shaggy, in that he's been voicing Shaggy pretty much in everything for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's set to return for another Scooby-Doo project is just like, okay.
Shouldn't surprise anybody.
All right. Maybe it's not a Scoob sequel because there's no Matt Forte. So we know that. But it seems like
Will Forte.
There's that. And Will Forte.
Matt Forte.
Matt Forte?
Matt Forte, the running back.
Yeah. Matt Forte, he will not be in the upcoming Scooby-Doo movie, I assume, either. But Hugh Jackman told Marvel he would return for Secret Wars only if he'll get to interact with Toby and RDJ. This is from My Time to Shine. Hello?
This is from Reddit. Somebody wrote. Somebody is posing as Hugh Jackman on Reddit.
Because there's no way Hugh Jackman, a respected actor, is like, oh, I will only be in this movie if I get to interact with Tobey Maguire and Robert Downey.
Is smoking a cigar on that list?
Is this next Avengers movie is going to be the worst movie of all time, isn't it? Yeah. I'm excited, but like, there's no way this ends up being good.
Because Kevin Feige's going to be just like, write down the 3 things you want to be in this movie, for you to be in this movie. We'll make it happen.
Right, and he's just going to give that to everybody.
Yeah, he's going to give things to everybody.
M. Night Shyamalan is finally going to get his chance to make a 7-hour movie.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way this is going to work out. But, I'm really excited to see them try. So, at the very least, we got that. But as we wrap this up, we got reviews. We got, I guess you reviewed yours on the audio only pod. Quick reminder, if you have not listened to any of the audio podcasts, we do have them up on Spotify for you to listen to. So it's a nice hour of unlistened Variant Cast podcast on there right now if you want to go hear some more just takes on the DCU and the MCU, especially as we got deeper into that in that episode. But one thing I forgot to do in that episode was review Argo. So I'll do that now. As Trent tasked me with watching Argo, and what was your reasoning for giving me Argo, Trent?
I was looking through my letterboxd of 4 stars and up, just seeing what movies might possibly you might not possibly, or you might not know about, but could be interesting to you. And so I picked this one because I don't know, it kind of falls in the theme of movies and movie making and but also kind of it's like a real world event, and I thought it was interesting. How'd you like it?
So basically, Trent was trying to get me to watch CIA propaganda.
Yeah.
I mean, it is definitely CIA propaganda. It is interesting propaganda, as it's a pretty well made movie. I don't know if I buy Ben Affleck in the CIA man role, but he's really good in it.
Yeah.
And just the movie in general is well paced and interesting and gets you thinking. And it's also like not, while it is CIA propaganda, it's not American propaganda. And American propaganda is really the only thing that annoys me in movies like this.
Yeah.
And it's not that. You get to see the very real reactions to what happened. I assume what happened during this event. I don't know. I'm not that old. But not only that aspect of things, but also the just, I guess, careful planning that went into this. It is a real event, and I think it would have been cool, and I think this would probably be the ending if it was a fake event, but if they like actually made the movie after with like the people went through and did that. But fair enough not doing that, especially if kind of was a CIA thing. So
yeah.
But there was a lot of kind of cutaways where they went to like the Americans and just go in and just like kill them all, and you actually get to have a few great scenes of Bryan Cranston just screaming, which I'm pretty sure he's only there just to scream.
Yeah,
those 2 times. His character has no other purpose other than just to scream when they need someone to scream. But by golly, can that man scream? Maybe top 10 screamer in American human history.
Yeah.
I was just being honest about it. I don't name me 10 better screamers right now if you don't think he's top 10.
Can't.
Can't do it. But it was enjoyable all the way through. I think like you said, it's a nice little insight into the film industry, and I think it was like the 80s. As well as just the volatile kind of time the Middle East was in. It was a nice little throwback to that.
Yeah.
And throwback to when dudes had bangs. You don't really see many dudes with bangs anymore. And I think that's an important thing that we got to be talking about more. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. I think it could easily be a 4 out of 5. I wish we got more with the captured.
Yeah.
I know the main thing is kind of setting up the fake setup, and really the captured people, all they were doing was just chilling in a Canadian embassy the whole time. Mm-hmm. But I would have liked to kind of see more of that side of things, like the Canadians being more involved than they were in the movie, because at the end, they like, oh, we'll give Canada all the credit for it, and the CIA will just sit back and be like, yeah, we're the CIA. We do cool stuff. We don't need the credit, though. So it would have been nice to maybe, I don't know, see Canada do a bit more things. But
yeah,
overall, very well-made movie. It doesn't have too many glaring flaws. Like I said, it flows really well, scene to scene. And you never feel like any scene is wasting time. So definitely recommend watching it if you're into some political thrillers, because that is what it is by definition. Political thriller.
Yeah.
But if we wanted to do another no negotiation recommendation here, did you have anything? I'm double checking and seeing if I had any.
I could give you Iron Claw if you want. Make you watch the Iron Claw.
Well, I was gonna watch Iron Claw anyways. I felt like we were gonna just do an Iron Claw episode. I was gonna watch it for try to make sure I had it watched for this episode, but I was like, we have enough to talk about. We got Dune and Last Airbender.
Yeah.
So we could definitely get that. So I'll watch that one regardless. So we could just make sure I get that done. Because I'm always really tempted to give you random horror movies. This one has Sebastian Stan. I don't know if you've seen Fresh. Have you?
No, I haven't. Okay,
I'm gonna give you Fresh. There's a little bit of body horror, but it's not too bad. But you get to see Sebastian Stan play a cannibal, and he's pretty great in it. So, and it's only 114 minutes. You know, I'm a nice guy.
I will give you Past Lives. So it was just a movie that just came out. It's on Paramount Plus. It's nominated for an Oscar. It's not the typical movie that I'd recommend you, Ty, but I enjoyed it. I just watched it last night. It's like half a K-drama almost. Like half of it is subtitled, but it's a good movie. And all right, since the Oscars are this weekend or next weekend,
yeah.
I guess when you're listening to this, it will be this weekend. So yeah, highly recommend checking out Talk to Me, or Past Lives. Not Talk to Me. Talk to Me is another movie that came out this year. That's like a horror movie. But yeah, check out Past Lives. Ty, that's the one I'm giving to you. But I also watched Poor Things, which is Emma Stone and Mark Ruffalo and Willem Dafoe's new movie, and that is an absolutely crazy movie. Like, I don't know if I'd recommend it to a lot of people, specifically, like my mom, who listens to this, but yeah,
I didn't know your mom listens.
Yeah, my mom listens to the podcast. Shout out my mom. But yeah, Poor Things is really really good. There's so many like crazy, like weird avant-garde concepts in it, but there's also like there's a scene that takes place, or like there's this whole set piece that has like this artificial sky almost, and there's like it's really cool use of sets and stuff. But yeah, I highly recommend just watching any Oscar nominations that you haven't yet.
Okay, I'll definitely get through Past Lives and probably Poor Things. I've been meaning to watch that. So
an hour and a half. So, and Poor Things just dropped on Hulu. And a bunch of things just dropped on Netflix too. A bunch of Oscar noms.
Nice. And I'm actually gonna switch it up. I'm gonna give you Fresh eventually, but I want you to watch. Have you seen Ready or Not?
Yes, I just watched that one not too long ago.
Oh, dang. Then I'm keeping you on Fresh, okay. But Ready or Not's a banger as well.
Yeah, I enjoyed Ready or
Not. But yeah, that'll be our show as we come out exactly on an hour. Thank you for listening. Trent's mom, as well as everybody else who may have stayed this long, really do appreciate it, and we hope to see you next week.
Deuces. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you.